and we'll definitely add things as we go. Michelle, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hello, everybody. My name is Michelle Gilmore. For those of you who are new to this, it's our virtual Eventology workshop. We've been hosting workshops for about 3 years together, and we wrote a book called Eventology, The Science Behind Nonprofit Fundraising, as Darren mentioned, that was published last June. So it's on Amazon, and also our audio book just came out, so that's exciting. But what we've been talking about the last few weeks, and if you've been online with us, then you know we are having an extraordinary, unique situation in fundraising, right? We are all under this crazy quarantine slash pandemic, and we're really questioning what to do next. And so one of the questions that we've been talking about is software solutions. So Darren, before I let you kick that conversation off, I do want to do a couple of housekeeping things. If you want to, I have you all muted right now. There is going to be a chance for you to ask questions at the end. And if you don't mind adding your questions into the chat as we go, that will help us streamline the questions and the conversations. We have 4 guests that are joining us today, and we'll introduce them in a minute. And at the bottom, if you're new to Zoom, at the very bottom, there's a place where you click chat in order to click that, and you can add your questions there. And we're gonna kick off today with a fun poll. And let's see if I can pull it up here. Let's see here. There we go, let's see, poll. Oh, I'll work on it, Darren, and bring it back. Oh, here it is. Okay, here we go.
This is where you get to play and hit buttons and vote, right?
Yeah, yes, exactly.
All right.
Look, I'll come back to it. Go ahead and kick it. I'll find it. And we'll get there in a minute.
All right. Well, we're definitely, as you know, you guys clicked on the button. You're here. You've joined us. What the tech? What does that mean? I follow a lot of Facebook posts. I talk to a lot of different nonprofits, and so many of them are just torn. Again, we're in new times. We're in a new era of everything with virtual events, and there's so many awesome software opportunities out there. So Michelle and I decided what a great way to talk to some people. Now, this isn't the company. Originally, we wanted to get the companies and kind of get their salesperson to talk about all the features and benefits. But we decided to go one step further and actually make it a little more relatable to you. We've got the executive directors, we've got development directors, and some good friends of mine from Event Solutions are also going to join us. But these are all the users. These are the individuals that actually use the software. We've got some questions we're going to ask all of them, and then we're going to encourage you throughout the entire conversation. About 30 minutes, we're going to speak with them, and then we're going to go to answering your questions. So I encourage you, Michelle introduced you to the chat bar down there if you haven't found it yet. In that chat bar, let us know as your questions come up. We're going to do our best to get to all of them, but if we don't get to all of them on this call, because we're going to try to end right at 1 p.m., we'll definitely try to include that information, send it back to you as an attendee, and answer those questions on our Facebook page that I mentioned earlier. So what the tech, exactly what it is, they're going to give us their expert opinion from a user's perspective. So Michelle, tell us who we're going to start talking with first.
So we have 4 guests, and as Darren mentioned, these are people that are using the technologies, not the salespeople from the technology companies. So we're really excited. They're right from the field. They're just like you and I. And the first one is our friend Leanne Anderson. She works for the Coronado Schools Foundation and is the Director of Development there. And then we have Pat Castile, who's in there. I think she might be, I don't know if she's gonna share her camera with us, but she's on there as the Executive Director from the San Diego Spine Foundation. So we're super happy to have her. Who else, Darren?
And then from Event Solutions, we have Eleen Hayden and Casey Massey. Now, the cool part about the conversation is each individual here, they're going to talk about a different software. So Michelle's going to start off with a couple of different questions. They're going to answer and take notes, and said, if you want, put your questions in that chat box. But remember, this whole thing is recorded. And if you follow us on our Eventology Fundraising Continue the Conversation page, you'll get a link to it, and you can go back and watch the video, because there's going to be a lot of great information here. So Michelle, you want to start us off with a couple questions?
Yes, let's kick this off. All right. Sorry for the blower. If you could do that, I'll mute myself in a minute. So we're going to kick it off with our friend Leanne Anderson. Hi, Leanne.
Hello.
So Leanne, for the first question for you, and we're going to ask the same question to all four of you to start. Tell us the name of the technology that you're going to be speaking to today, how much it costs for what you are using, and then what is the use that you're employing with this technology? What are you using it for?
So the piece of technology, the piece of software that we use is called MobileCause. And it is, I love using it. It's a great piece of software. It is used for all of our online forms. So you can create whatever type of form you want online. And then it just gives you the embed code to go and put on your website. It does our peer-to-peer fundraising. So it has like mobile text capabilities. Behind me, you can see, I'm gonna edit this afterwards to move all the stuff. This is the new thing, right? On your next event, just make it your Zoom background. Our telethon is coming up in about a week and a half. And we have a schools to schools competition that we run with that. And MobileCause allows us to have one campaign that we run for the telethon, but then it allows us to set up separate teams for each one of our schools. And so there's a schools participation contest that we run. So you can set out those text links with different numbers on them assigned to different schools. So it's really nice because it takes one large campaign and it can break it down into those smaller sections that really motivate people to give based on, you know, where they feel there's the most need. MobileCause runs about, I think we pay about $2,500 a year for it, but we have access to it all the time. They have a great support service, customer service system that I can call anytime and ask questions. And so that's why I love it.
All right, thank you, Leanne. I love the promotion for the telethon coming up.
Okay, same question to you, Pat Castile from San Diego Spine Foundation.
Hi. Oh, let me.
Hey, Pat. You're muted.
Can you hear me now?
We got you, Pat.
Okay, great. Great. Hi, how are you doing, Michelle?
She's doing great. You want to repeat the question for Pat, Michelle?
Yes, Pat. We want to know which technology you're going to be speaking about today, what you use it for primarily, and how much it costs.
Okay, thank you. Actually, I've got two different technologies that I can speak to very quickly. The first is our fundraising software, our database, and that is Donor Perfect. We don't have a Cadillac version of that. We're a very small nonprofit organization, but it is extremely user-friendly. We were turned onto it through another small nonprofit, Global Spine Outreach, who was using it, and they had very good success with it. It's very super simple to be able to get it set up. Basically, I imported an Excel spreadsheet with all of our donor information and then went from there. As far as being able to enter donations and track fundraising events, it's easy to do that. The total cost, the cost is actually as much or as little as you want it to be. It's roughly as low as around $1,500 to $1,700. But if you want additional phone service, which is what I have gotten because I need a little bit of hand holding because I'm not the most tech savvy person, especially when it comes to reporting, I have opted for that, which brings it up a little bit more. But again, the pricing is based on the number of donors you plan to have in your database. We roughly have 1,000 donors in our database right now. Our nonprofit's a little bit unique in the sense that our income is not totally driven on fundraising. We do have other methods of income because we run a fellowship training program, so we get revenue from that as well as fellowship grants. So we're a little unique that way. Another software that we just recently finished using was through the company GiveSmart. And that is if you're planning a fundraiser, gala, anything that requires registration, tracking, etc. That has been a tremendous tool. Once I learned how to use it, which wasn't terribly hard, I was able to get really detailed reports very easily, able to export them to me, be able to know exactly, how, if I got a deposit to our bank account and it was for a fairly large amount, I got a detailed itemized breakdown that was very easy to track. So I would give a thumbs up for GiveSmart. I'm very, very pleased with that product.
Thank you, Pat.
Okay. That was very good. All right, let's send the next question to Eleen. Darren, that same question.
All right, Eleen, you want to unmute your microphone there if you could, Eleen. There you go. How are you, Eleen? Thanks for joining us.
Sure. Hi, I'm Eleen Hayden, and I'm with Event Solutions. And we work with lots of different software with different customers. But I'm going to be talking about Greater Giving today. So Greater Giving has been one of the software platforms that many of our clients have either moved to and or are using. The price point for the software, including the mobile bidding, is $1,200. They do sometimes run some specials, so that's another option. And it does include all the support that you would want or need. They are really fantastic about answering questions. They have lots of videos and different things that you can go to their website, watch the videos, get online training, but they also have a support number that you can call and get direct support. Some of the things we like best about Greater Giving software, the mobile bidding portion is really quite simple. It's easy to upload your photos into the items and the descriptions. The auction items come over into the mobile platform seamlessly. You can set the closing time and it closes automatically, and all the information is right in the software to be able to, then text your winning bidders that they've won. Again, the texting is really simple to go ahead and promote your different items. It's been a really nice platform. We primarily used it in live events in person. The registration piece, they have a go time portion that is really seamless. But since we're going to be focusing on, remote bidding for now, the mobile bidding is really quite simple to use and easy to communicate with your donors.
Thank you, Eleen. Appreciate that. And next up, we have Casey Massey. Casey, are you unmuted, ready to go?
I am. I'm also with Auction Event Solutions. Hi, Eleen. I see a lot of faces out there that are familiar. The software that I'm going to talk about is actually fairly new in name, but has been around for a long time. BidPal has become OneCause for those of you who are not familiar with that. They have also done a revamping of their platform, so it's a lot more user-friendly than it used to be for those who've used BidPal in the past. Their software works really seamlessly between live event and online event. I know right now we're talking mostly about the online auction. However, at some point we hope to go back to physical contact.
Yes, we do.
And it does transfer back and forth seamlessly for that. So you can do ticketing and all of that online, as well as peer-to-peer. It can be generated both through email and text message, which sometimes is nice for those of you who have a clientele that maybe isn't as tech savvy with phones. They can go back and forth through an email because it is a web-based position. So they go to a website instead of necessarily an app. It does work really well. As far as pricing is concerned, like a lot of them, they range depending on how much support and help you want. Their DIY, which is their basic plan, runs about $2,400. That's for a year. It covers as many programs as you want. It covers, as many times events that you want to have. And you can use as much or as little of their mobile bidding as you want. So you can do just the contact part of it. You can do the full thing through it. It's really quite versatile.
Casey, thank you so much for sharing that. Now we're going to kind of go reverse order. Casey, I'm going to start with you on our next question. Yes. What's the one thing that you personally really love about the software?
For OneCause, I like the ease of teaching your volunteers and
okay.
those who are maybe not always in a software. One Cause has a back office. They call it, like it's the back end. So like your actual donor person who works in the software would be back there. But your actual people handling your events and things like that and handling your online, that's a whole nother, like, it looks like an app. It's literally a point and click and everything happens in there. So if someone does call and want to give a donation instead of online, you can process it right there. So everything is really simple in that one platform.
Awesome. Eleen, I'd like to ask the same question to you if I could.
Okay, with Greater Giving, one of my favorite parts of Greater Giving is the Go Time feature. It's where you can easily do registration in 3 easy steps to register credit cards when you're at the event. They can also have under their donation button when you're doing your mobile bidding, they have a thermometer. So one of our clients is going to be doing their mobile event next month, and they're going to have a screen in the background, and they're going to have their fund a need or raise the paddle, whatever you want to call your donation. And they're going to have the thermometer in the background where they're going to be able to watch as people are live doing their live bidding and watch that thermometer raise up. So it's nice to have that visual. So that's one of my favorite things. But the Go Time feature, being able to just use it just like an app, it's really simple.
All right. Thank you very much, Eleen. Pat, you want to field that next question as well? What's your favorite thing about it?
Happy to.
What's
Thank
that
you.
one thing that you really
Oh, sorry. For Donor Perfect, the software that we use for our database collection, the feature that I like the most for that database is the fact that you can flag different groups. So if you're wanting to track volunteers, if you're wanting to, we happen to generate an annual report which goes out through our database to Constant Contact. So there's a Constant Contact interface, and you can flag particular groups that you want to receive that annual report, and then it interfaces with Constant Contact. Real quick, easy way to be able to create a single click email with the attachment that you need, and that has streamlined our communications both for fundraising and educational events.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Now, Leanne, back to you and your telethon.
So with Mobile Cause, my favorite thing about Mobile Cause is how much you can do with the piece of software. It is a very, very rich piece of software. And we might answer this in the next one too. That's also kind of can be the downfall of Mobile Cause at the same time, is because there is so much that you can do and they add things all the time. For example, they just added event registration a couple of months ago. So now you can also ticket and sell things. It doesn't have a silent, like an online auction bidding feature. We use GiveSmart that I can't remember who mentioned earlier, maybe Eleen, but we use GiveSmart for our auction where we do our online bidding. But so Mobile Cause is so rich. I wrote down some of the things that it can do just because there's so many. One of the cool things that we recently got it to do is our online giving forms are built in Mobile Cause. And so we reached out to their programming team, and we use a donor database called Bloomerang. And so we asked them, can you drop in the donations from Mobile Cause? So if someone gives online, can we somehow hook it up to our donor database so that if it's a telethon gift or if it's an auction gift or a school registration gift, wherever they got that link. And so every night at midnight, anything that's taken online, it drops into Bloomerang, our donor database. So I no longer have to go in and manually enter all of those separate donations. So that's something really nice that they've done for us. It also has bulk upload features. So for example, with our telethon coming up, I have it set up that all of the people on our phone bank will take down the information of the donors, and then I will be able to just put that into a CSV file, an Excel file, and upload it into the Mobile Cause software. And Mobile Cause also has a thermometer for your campaign. And that's something that we feature throughout the 4 hours of our telethon as well. And it lists the donor name and the donor amount, as well as where we are. So Mobile Cause is just really the sky's the limit with it. It can be a bit overwhelming as the person running it. And you would really need to give some time to actually training whoever's going to be working on that piece. But the customer service is outstanding.
Awesome. So I want to jump in. I'm going to go ahead and launch the poll that I was talking about because it's going to help us, I think, lead into the next set of questions. And here, let me hit go on this. Let's see here. Here we go, launch. Okay, so you should have a poll that popped up, and comfort level. What is your comfort level, everybody out there? Everyone chime in. Are you a pro? Are you new but getting used to it? Or straight up fear, sister or brother? So Darren, while we're collecting the answers for this, what's our next question? Let's start with Leanne, and we'll go back the other way again. And I'm so everything that you guys are talking about right now, it's just like percolating. I really want to jump in, but I'm not going to. I'm going to be good, and I'm going to wait for my questions until we've gone through our 4 first rounds. So as you all are having questions, make sure you're adding into the chat because we're going to let you loose on this crew right after we're done with the next 2. So Darren, what do you have?
When you say let them loose, we're not going to unmute everybody at the same time, I hope. That didn't work well for us last time.
No.
All right, so the next question, Leanne, we're going to start with you. What's the one thing you would change that you would want, I guess, the company to change?
I would love for them to make the backside more user-friendly.
Okay.
In saying that, I do consider myself a pro with a lot of pieces of software. I see how it's hard for them to make it user-friendly because there's so many options.
Okay.
Right? So it's like you've got all these separate campaigns, you've got, event ticketing you can do, you've got the peer-to-peer fundraising, you've got teams. So just kind of like I said before, that's the downfall of it, but also the beauty of it is that there's so many options, but it does take a minute to figure out what each of those are.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Leanne. And then Pat, with GiveSmart, what's the one thing you would really kind of hope that they could potentially change with their software?
Well, I'm kind of focusing on Donor Perfect. So I would say with the Donor Perfect database platform, my background is nursing, specifically spine care, and I've been doing nothing but research most of my career. And so I'm used to databases. And it's the data you get out, the information you get out is only as good as the back door. So just as Leanne was discussing, the downside of Donor Perfect is reporting isn't as ideal as it could be. It's not quite as intuitive as it could be, and I'm in regular conversations with them on how they can make their reporting more intuitive so that when you're plugging in a report that's very specific with various filters, you get exactly what you're looking for. And that would be my recommendation for Donor Perfect, but I'm otherwise pleased with the product.
Very good.
All right, thanks. I like that. You have a critique, but you're still happy with it because you're probably so vested in it. You're like, I'm not changing. I ain't get that.
Yeah.
Eleen, how about you?
Well, I think we're all in the same boat. So the back end reporting is the one area that could use a little bit of improvement. There's usually a way to be able to sort some of your functions down. So again, the problem lies in that it's so diverse that you can get so much information out. It's just not as intuitive as it could be. But the one thing about Greater Giving, they have been so responsive in so many areas where we've asked to see improvements. They have been extremely responsive to respond to those requests. And it's so refreshing to work with a software company that is responsive to your needs.
Yeah, that's great.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, Casey, what about OneCause?
For OneCause, I think their backend's pretty easy to use. It does have the look of Excel as Greater Giving does, so you can filter down. My one pet peeve, if you want to call it that, with OneCause is they don't keep couples coupled. The way that you couple a couple is using a bid number. So in today's day and age, not everyone shares the same last name with their significant other. Neither Mr. and Mrs. isn't always appropriate. So sometimes you forget from year to year who is actually connected. So when you go to put them together the next year, you can end up with a son and mother together or something like that, instead of where like Greater Giving, for example, has households and you can keep them together from year to year. In OneCause, they split as soon as that event is over, and then when you give them a bid number, you couple them again. So unless you remember your entire staff, which I know most of us have a donor database that is deep, you won't remember who really is married to who, and you have to keep a tab of their ticket purchase basically to see who goes together.
Yeah, that's a good one. I remember those. I remember that. That's just a lot of work to try to make it all work, and then you hope it's right when they walk up. So I just shared the results from our poll, and hopefully you can see the results on your screen. We have 25% of our folks who are pros, welcome pros. We have 44% who are kind of right in the middle, new but getting used to it. And then straight up fear, I'm lucky to be on this Zoom call, is 31% of you. So I think that speaks to, you know, what's going on with this trend, Darren. Let's talk about that a little bit. And then I have a question for the fourth one before we, you know, we'll switch it up a little bit. But go ahead and tell us about what you're feeling with this virtual world that you're in right now.
From what I see, I mean, and I see it with clients, and I see a ton of it on Facebook and just all the different fundraising groups that I'm on. It's straight up fear. They're so afraid. They've heard virtual event and they panic. And to be honest and totally open, you know, Michelle and I had to do a Facebook Live event, and I've heard about it. I've known about it. I've seen other people do it. Until you actually do one, and you're like, I mean, I think, Michelle, you said it best. As soon as we were done with our first Facebook Lives, like, all right, we didn't die. I mean, we were literally a little bit nervous to do it. And once you do it, you're like, okay, all right, we can be better. We can do it this. But the best part about where we're at in the world right now, and where we're at in a whole as fundraising, is we don't have to be perfect. I mean, we had, you know, phones that were muted, and, you know, technical difficulties getting up the poll. This is new to all of us. Anybody that says, no, we've got expert fundraisers and experts at software, but I don't think anybody on this call, and I'm even, you know, I see a few of my fellow fundraising auctioneers on here as well. I don't think any of us are virtual event experts yet. We're brand new into this. We're a month into it, you know, month and a half. Now, once you do a virtual event, you see, I talked earlier before we got on the call, or right as we started the call, I posted a few pictures of an event we did yesterday online. It's just kind of the stage and the set. There's so much to go on. There's so many things that have to happen. And I don't think a virtual event is right for every nonprofit. But I definitely, and Michelle, we talked about this on our call a couple weeks ago. Yeah. The overall generosity and philanthropy right now is off the charts. So many people are scared, don't want to ask for money. Ask, make the ask. It is off the charts. People truly want to help. If you're COVID, you know, directly, you know, direct connection with the COVID-19, and, you know, people want to help, absolutely. But even talking to a client yesterday that's not, they are still just getting money sent into them just because, hey, we're still thinking about you. We know you just canceled your event, but we're thinking about you. And it was a $5,000 check. So it's there. Opportunity is there. Still ask. Don't be afraid of it. Embrace technology. We've assembled this whole forum. Share in the chat. If somebody says something or asks a question that you can relate to, reach out to that person and connect. That's what this is all about. Michelle, you want to lead us off with our last question? Because we're down to 30 minutes.
Yes, perfect. So I do have one. And before I do that, I want everyone to stick around, because towards the end, we're going to do a little, I'm going to offer up a link in the chat to win a hot seat with Darren and I. So that
I was supposed to talk about that at the beginning of the call, wasn't
I? Okay, it's all good. So
totally sorry.
We're gonna do a hot seat drawing, which what that means is that you will be in the hot seat with Darren and I on Facebook Live. You can ask us any questions about your virtual events, your in-person events, by the time, whenever we get to do those again, and any fundraising burning questions you have. And then we're gonna have a forum of people who are in the Facebook group that will be able to watch, and they will be able to post questions. So if you want to have your organization or you in the hot seat with us next Wednesday at 4:00 p.m., it's just all about you. Stick around, and we're going to put that link in the Zoom chat to make sure that you get to apply for that, or, you know, put your name in the hat for that, not apply. So,
this is not a grant.
This is about event software questions. So I think all of you, and then Pat, when you speak about this, let's talk about your GiveSmart, which used to be called Gesture. For those of you who are in the audience, if you use Gesture, they've rebranded to GiveSmart. And as Cassie mentioned, BidPal is now OneCause. So there's all kinds of people jumping in. And before we ask this question, I know there are so many more solutions, and some of you on here probably have your favorite solution. And so if you want to offer up some feedback about your solution in the chat, that's great. I am going to share the chat and the video in our Facebook private group after this today, and then I'll send an email to everyone who registered today with the video and the chat. So this is a nice little resource, so take advantage of it. Anyway, here's the burning question, for number 4. Event software, what is it about the one that you use, your event software, that you would pit up against another software? And what I mean is this: if I'm sitting in the director development seat and I have 5 different technologies that I am comparing, then what's the deal breaker that you have with yours that sets it apart from somebody else or something else that you've seen? Who wants to start? Let's start with Eleen.
Okay,
Caught her off guard.
I'm unmuted. I'm back. Okay.
She caught you out of turn, Eleen.
So with Greater Giving, I think because it's such a wide platform, it can cover an event on site. It can do the mobile bidding. You can be emailing or texting to your clientele as much as you want. You can send thank you letters. When it comes to soliciting auction items, they have a form that you can email out. Once your donors fill out the form for an auction item, the item can load right into the software. So it's very diverse at, how widespread it can cover, just so many areas of your fundraising. And the household function that Casey mentioned is just, it's so handy that you can really control the information. But I love the communication. You can communicate so beautifully, designing letters and sectioning out your sponsors versus your attendees versus your item donors. And you can be sending different communications to each of those groups so seamlessly. So, I think, that, and its price point is really fair. They're really fair in their pricing. They don't keep gouging you every time, you want more support or something like that. So anyway, that's my pitch.
That's really, that's good info. All right. How about Cassie, you're next.
I would say mine is similar to Eileen's. Mine would switch the opposite direction. I think a lot of the people that contact us are usually wavering between Greater Giving and One Cause. So we have a lot of those bullet points back and forth. I think that with Greater Giving, there is a great back as far as, like Eleen was saying, being able to filter down that information helps a lot. For me, for One Cause, the push that would teeter me that direction is the price point. It covers the entire year, no matter how many events you choose to have. And I know Greater Giving has been working back and forth with their price pointing too, so some of that may be changing in the world we live in now. But as far as the last time we discussed with them, One Cause covers the whole year, no matter how much online or physical papering you do. It covers it all. So it keeps it one price, you're done kind of situation, instead of having to pay event to event.
Perfect. That's very good. And how about Pat next? What about GiveSmart? What's the deal breaker for you?
A deal breaker for me is the inability to connect with the people who are running the platform. And GiveSmart was the exact opposite. I was so pleased. I've worked with them before when they were Gesture and then became GiveSmart. And we had received potential word that it's only as strong as the people who are going to be assisting you with your event on site and your support as you go along. We had phenomenal support. I felt like I had a walking, talking, living tutor anytime I needed to reach out to her. She was there to help me every step of the way. And they do have the option, if you choose to want to have a year long of events, they have a price point for that. We happen to only need them for one event, one major event. So our price point was a little different for that, which was a cost savings. So they're super flexible. They have tremendous customer support. And so they are definitely not a deal breaker. They are a deal maker.
Awesome. That's
Michelle, I'm going to jump in real quick. There's a comment in there. I just want a point of clarification because Eleen talked about it, but Tracy with Greater Giving jumped in on here and she said that Greater Giving does offer unlimited events for the whole year now. So it's official. It's in print. Eleen, I'll send this to you just to make sure you got it.
That's
Tracy,
awesome.
Tracy said we're good.
All right, cool. And then Leanne, back to you. Same question. What's the deal breaker, sister?
For me, and I think other people said this too, but mobile cause is all encompassing. And like I said, they just started this new event ticketing that I haven't even used yet. So I have no idea what that entails as well. But it's just a one-stop shop. You can really just use everything that they offer to kind of manipulate it for any event that you need. So I just think if you want one piece of software, it's a pretty good one. So, and I have to say for Pat, I love my on-site GiveSmart person. She is one of my favorite people. I look forward to working with her. I've requested her back every year that we've done our auction. So for Gesture and an event, or sorry, GiveSmart and an event, they do a great job too with the online bidding. So that's another vote for me for that one.
Yeah.
Woohoo!
Yeah. Woohoo.
Like the woohoo, Pat.
All right, Darren, let's take some questions from the chat. So we have one that says, hi, I'm curious if people are moving forward with walks, golf tournaments, and galas. And if not, what is their plan B? So I think this is great. Let's throw it out to this group. I know what you and I think about this. So what are you guys doing, those of you that are in the fundraising trenches? What you got going on? What are you doing instead of those walks, golf tournaments, and galas? Or are you just pushing them off?
You're going to have to unmute yourself first, but jump on in. Anyone? So while we're waiting for someone to kind of jump in on that, some clients that I have, one definitely postponed their event and went straight to they had a run coming up, and obviously they went straight to a virtual run. They're still selling entries, doing t-shirts, they're selling donors, they're selling sponsorships, not donors. They're selling sponsorships. So they're full-fledged, full going, excited for it. And we'll see how it turns out. And that's in about 2.5, 3 weeks. Any other questions pop up yet?
Leanne, what did you do to punt this year?
Hold on, for what event? Telethon or for auction?
Well, actually, if you could speak to your telethon, because the question was, what are people doing with their in-person events? And if they're canceling them, what is their plan B? So if you could speak a little bit about the telethon, there's a reason why I have you on here, because what you're doing is a virtual event, and it just happens to be that you've been doing it and now you have to convert a little bit. So speak to that a little, since you have a gorgeous backdrop also.
Yeah, so I also am not afraid at all to go ahead and jump into this virtual world. I think now's the perfect time to ask. If you stop asking, it kind of looks like what you were funding isn't that important anyway, or that you didn't need it in some way. And so I think, as long as you kind of maybe lower your expectations about the number of participants or about the, amounts that you might raise, I'm all for it. So we went ahead, and that was a big question. Our telethon was originally scheduled for March 18th this year, and it is an in-person event. We have kids, hundreds and hundreds of children, parents, community members come to one high school theater. We have a live production company, and it's a 4-hour event. So it got canceled 5 days before, and staff got together and everyone was like, oh, we shouldn't have it. Or, let's wait, this is all gonna go away. So let's just push it off till the end of the school year. And I was like, why are we we have nothing else to do right now. Let's just ask people for a bunch of video clips and TikToks and funny stuff. And, we already had a couple of the performances taped from rehearsals that the kiddos had done. And so it was kind of like herding cats with email and text. It was very annoying to not be able to get in someone's face. But if you send enough emails, they will get back to you.
Yeah, now they got time on their hands, so they can get back to you.
Yeah.
Right. It's the perfect time. So we literally we have a game show theme. We taped the game shows live on Zoom. So we literally put up the PowerPoints for the game shows in the background. We put the gallery, the strip down the side of the participants. There are all sorts of different ways in Zoom on the backside. It's only show people that are talking, only show people with their videos on. So we would have people turn their videos off during certain times if they weren't participating at that time. And we took them apart, and my iMovie on my Mac has been working overtime with me clipping and editing. But we have 4 hours worth of content.
Wow.
It was a little painful, but I mean, it's always painful, right? Like even when you're planning for a face-to-face event. So, and then sorry, not to talk too long, but I'm also getting a nonprofit management certificate. And so we've been discussing this a ton, but Alzheimer's San Diego, they're going to go ahead with their walk. And they are doing a virtual walk. They're having people like post where they walk, like their GPS tracking, and they're still having people do teams. And then somebody came up with a fantasy football league, like a virtual league. That's a lot less work. So I think a little bit of creativity can go a long way right now.
Yeah. Eleen, how about you and your clients? What are you guys doing to either substitute, or are you pushing off events? What do you got going on?
Yeah. Okay. So most of our clients are moving their events to the fall or to next year. A couple of the real big ones are just pushing it a year out. The ones that are like 600 and plus people, they're pushing it out for a whole year. Several others have been moving to the fall season. So we've been encouraging our current clients to make sure they have their contracts in and have the dates held with us, so that we can assist them at their events, because I think the fall might be getting really crowded. And a few others are trying to do the virtual events. And again, they're just kind of trying to find their way through the technology, just figuring out what's the best way, to communicate with the donors and getting them onto a bidding device. And, again, with the greater giving, they can be doing the silent auction, but they can also be doing that donation button. And so we want to make sure, we want to make it as easy as possible. We don't want to be sending them to multiple platforms. We want to make it as simple as possible.
Super simple. Yep, exactly. This next one's for Casey. It says, we use greater giving. Does anyone know if they have a live stream option? In other words, we are holding our event and it's going to be out live to everyone. Do you know if they do?
I'm not sure. Eleen might know. I know we have an event coming. I don't think that it actually posts your live stream event through Greater Giving, but you for sure can send your upload link. It will take you straight to the live link, to the live stream link, or to your YouTube if you're using that, or your Facebook Live. You can use their email or their text and send it, but I'm not sure that it actually holds through their webpage.
Gotcha.
So Michelle, on that question right there, there's the two that we've done is you can stream Facebook Live and you can stream YouTube. YouTube has been a popular platform only because there's nothing required for anybody to get in. Once you send a link, they don't have to log in. They don't have to do anything. They're there, they're live, they're at your event. So this is where using the software from either Greater Giving, from every format that we've talked about here today, using that and sharing that information during your live stream event. A studio that I work with, we can stream two at the same time. So we can do Facebook Live at the same time we're doing YouTube. So there's some things to think about there in doing your virtual event, but you can do that. And again, you want to make it as easy as you can for your donor, but that's just streaming the video. All the texting platforms, the online auctions, the silent, the live, however you choose to do that, or just the fundraising piece is all easily and better done with software. Because you can track it, it's real time. You're not asking for credit card numbers, but some clients are doing phone numbers. You can go through Google Voice and sign up for Google Voice. You can forward that to, I think, up to 6, maybe 10 phones that you can do one number, share a number. They can call in their pledge if you want to do that, or you can just take a pledge online through YouTube and then follow up. But you really have to have a team of people that are following that chat. I mean, I know Michelle's trying to follow this one, and there's only 50 people on this call. I think we're at like 56 or 60, I think I saw at one point. But it's a lot to keep up with. So I recommend different people for the Facebook Live chat, someone else for the YouTube chat. A lot of pieces going on, and you have to have a huge team, not in person, not in studio, because that's against the rules, but your team can work remotely to do a lot of different things for your virtual event. So I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, I wanted to throw in, you had mentioned YouTube. That's really the best platform right now. I do a lot of social media checking and keeping up on. YouTube has less
Latency.
property stuff. You don't have to be as careful with music backgrounds and pictures and things like that. They're allowing a lot more to slide through. On Facebook, certain music will get you kicked. Certain things will get your live shut down. So it's important that you make sure that you're following all those trademarks and copyright.
Yeah. You know what? I'm going
Great
to have.
comment. Thank you for that.
Yeah, that's a really good comment. I have one a question says, my nonprofit doesn't have any donor software nor fundraising software. What would it cost to do a virtual event? I realize there are variables, but like ballpark it for us. What kind of ROI for the expenses? How about, let's see, Pat, do you, Pat, yours is not really a virtual event. We got to have yours live. So who has been—
Yeah, Pat got hers in, I think 4 days before the COVID. We did Pat's event, and I think 4 days after that, I mean, when we were barely just starting to do the follow-ups, we got hit with this COVID
Amen.
thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we had our fundraiser on February 28th. It was a huge success, and everything started going sideways literally days after the event. We were blown away with just how fortunate we were. And I have to say that, you know, if we had to do something virtual going forward, if we had to have canceled it, we jokingly say that we would have a pajama party, a virtual pajama party, and invite everyone who was going to attend before to participate. So that probably would be the way we would roll, to try and make something, to make lemonade out of lemons. But, you know, again, a big chunk of what we do is academic and educational. So we are, it's not exactly pertinent, but just very quickly, we have purchased Zoom Pro, and we are now holding all of our academic meetings, our conferences, our research meetings, our journal clubs. Everything is being done virtually now via Zoom Pro, and that's been a huge help, just to be able to have a professional meeting background, being able to project, you know, presentations and yet see the group just like we see on this platform. So that's been a big help.
Awesome.
Thank you, Pat.
Yeah.
So Michelle, we got 10 minutes to go.
Yes. Let's do one more question. And I see Freddie made a good comment. Freddie, nice to have you back here, our friend. He says that there are two things that are imperative: point of entry to register and user-friendly bidding is huge for me for software. And that totally makes sense. You know, you want it to be simple for your guests. I see somebody who said, we canceled our run and we are undecided on our auction gala scheduled for September. Let me speak to that quickly. I work for the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. I'm the Senior Director of Development there. And we have an event scheduled for September 25th. And it's looking more and more like we're not going to be able to have an in-person event. And so we're devastated. I personally am devastated because this is my baby. And so we're trying to figure out how to do it. We're going to have a chef event where we're going to have, you know, chef competition online, and we're going to convert some of the things that we normally would do in person, like having Darren as our auctioneer. He's going to have to do our live auction right on YouTube for us, and so all of those things. So yeah, it's going to take some creativity for us for sure. Any ideas and or clients that have virtual events, can you share that info? I'd love to see what a virtual run looks like. For instance, can we watch and or participate to see what it's like? So that's a good question. Is anybody doing a virtual run that wants to jump in here? You can mute yourself.
Or unmute yourself.
That's what I mean to say. Sorry. Yeah. You're muted now. You can unmute yourself. Anyone doing a virtual run out there?
But we're doing a virtual run. I'm not a presenter. I don't know if I'm allowed to talk.
You are allowed to talk. Yes.
Anybody, yeah. That's what I meant.
I think I'm not in charge of that particular event. I want to say we're using a specific run software called Run Sign Up. And somebody looked at something that Disney was doing. So Disney does virtual runs every year. And so we were kind of trying to take a cue from that and do something smaller for us. And we're looking at fun little ideas like running a specific shape and mapping that, and then like kind of tracking that kind of stuff. Like some people's logos were hearts, so they were having their participants run in like a heart pattern instead. And it's kind of a nice way to open it up for like, you know, other people that live in other states. So we thought maybe we would be rolling with this to, you know, forever. not maybe still having an in-person run if we can, but also doing a virtual run from now on, just because we think other people will be able to participate.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's kind of where we're at. I mean, we're in the middle of everything, so we don't have anything finalized. We're just looking at ideas.
Yeah, yeah, Maggie, that's really good feedback, and I think you're right in there with a lot of people. You know, they're just figuring it out as you go, but it's so great that the technology is available. Here we are. You know, we're talking about a few of them. Somebody has
Michelle, I want to jump in real quick here before you talk about the hot seat.
Okay.
There was a question you brought up earlier, and I don't know who it was that asked because I haven't been following on the chat, but somebody asked kind of what's it cost to put on a virtual event? There's so many different parameters. So if you are interested in that, please give me a call, send me an email, text me, however we find, reach out to us on Facebook, and I'm happy to have that conversation and walk you through a few clients that we're doing this with now and give you an idea on what it is. As far as the return on investment, for majority of the events from the industry, from auctioneers, I think on this phone call, there's 5 or 6 auctioneers that I recognize that are on here. The overall feed from just nationwide is philanthropy is up. There's a lot of people that still want to help. So this is a good time to do it, but you have to be kind of the right nonprofit in the right time to do it. So there's a lot of different things, and I'll share that with you on a one-on-one conversation because that's not this call.
All right. Okay. There's another question, Darren. I'm going to let you read the couple questions at the end while I set up the next chat post right there.
Couple questions at the end. Thanks for queuing me up for that.
Sure.
I would recommend greater giving. If you had to start with one virtual event, I would do an online auction and give smart. When you say at the end, how far up do I need to go? If you've got a question.
How about do donors find it odd? Just ask that one. I like this.
I don't see that one yet.
Towards the end. Okay, I'll read it.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Do donors find it odd to ask for ticket sales and sponsorships for events now, especially since we don't know what's going to happen in the fall? So those of you that are in fundraising, and maybe Eleen, you can start with this answer, and people can certainly take yourself off mute to help answer. If you're having a fall event, it's a hard time right now to ask for sponsorships and or donors, or if you're hosting a virtual event, how is that feeling?
Who did you want to answer that one?
Eleen.
Oh, Eleen. Eileen's like, who, me?
Sorry.
No, you're good.
I just admitted myself again. Okay, so the virtual events, one of our clients is doing a virtual event on May 15th. So we're going to be finding out a lot more about how they're going to be doing, getting everything to work, and if it's actually going to, have the results that they're hoping for. So I know one of the questions here was, has anyone already done a virtual event? And if so, how much did you raise compared to previous? So I have not personally been involved with one of those virtual events yet. We will have some results next month. So if we're doing this again a little bit later, I'll have more information to pass on to see if actually they're going to have, the return on investment that they're hoping for.
Yeah. And then, going back to the same question, what I would say is we're having a hard time. We're not asking for sponsorship for fall events right now. We're not engaged.
You say you're talking cystic fibrosis, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Right.
So we, in my daytime job, we are stewarding our donors. We're just checking in with them. We're checking in with our sponsors. How are you doing? How are your families? Is there anything you need during this time? We're doing a lot of stewardship and cultivation with note writing, and just keeping them engaged, offering them information about what's going on in our foundation or some feel goods that we can share with them. That's really what we're doing until we kind of get the green light and we feel like it's okay to ask for sponsorship for fall or 2021 events. I'm not sure if that's helpful. All right, so Darren, I did add the hot seat link in the chat. If you are interested in having a hot seat session with us on Facebook Live, it would just be your organization. You can bring as many people as you want from your team, and you could ask Darren and I questions. We could talk about virtual events, which Darren's already has a couple under his belt, and so he's been doing a lot of those. Also, what's the best way to maybe get those sponsors engaged in the things that you do have coming? We've been talking a lot about sponsorship for virtual events and ticket sales and how best to navigate that. So we have some good stuff to talk about with that. Any other things, Darren, that you want to ask before we close this up?
No, I think we've kind of cut everything I, because if I get started, I'll go off topic and we won't be done till 2:30, and I don't want to waste everybody's time. I could talk all day for this. This is what I love to do. I definitely want to thank each and every one of you for reaching out and joining us today. It's exciting. We've got a few new faces, so that's great. So thank you very much for that. Michelle, we've talked a little bit about it before, and we kind of started it off. If you haven't had a chance and you're just, dying for something to do, Michelle and I, we did co-author a book together called Eventology, The Science Behind Nonprofit Fundraising. The Audible book is out. Michelle and I are actually reading it. That was a challenge. That's almost like doing a virtual event. That was a little scary going into the studio to read a book, but we had a lot of fun doing it. Yeah. And we definitely excited you're all here. And click on the link if you want to be in the hot seat. The fun part about the hot seat, Michelle talked a little bit about it as we got started. It's a conversation. We're going to do it on Facebook Live. So if you haven't used Facebook Live, we're going to do it together. We'll walk you through it. It's a combination of Zoom and Facebook Live together. But we're going to record it. It'll be live, but we're going to have the recording, and we're going to let people ask questions. It's all live. It's in real time, and other people will get a chance to learn from your questions as well. So
Leanne,
we're excited to have it. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm so glad that Leanne was just read my mind. Actually, I want each one of our guests to just to say, first of all, thank you for joining us. You guys, the four of you have been so helpful to all of us. It's so great to hear just a little bit of what we're doing in the field and how it relates to what we each are doing in our own jobs. So I think that's amazing. If you want to give a pitch to something you're doing or your business or an event, and let's start with you, Leanne. I see you added to the chat, which I'm so happy about. So tell us a little bit about the telethon and how for people to log in and watch it.
Yeah, so if you want to see what a telethon looks like with pre-recorded content, Wednesday, May 6th from 5 to 9 p.m. There are a couple ways, but I think probably the easiest is to go to csfkids.org/telethon. And it will be streamed live there.
That's awesome. Thanks so much, Leanne, for helping us today. It's so great to see you as usual, and keep up all the good work you do for the schools. So Leanne's with the Coronado Schools Foundation, as a reminder. And then how about Cassie? What events do you guys have coming up? What are you working on?
At the moment, I am not assigned to any events coming up. I know Eleen has a virtual event coming up that I will be helping her with data entry and things like that. But right now, we are on hiatus myself until fall.
Got it.
Right. And so Eleen, I'll tee this one up for you, but just kind of give us a shout out and post a link to your services on the chat bar if you would, because I've personally worked with both of them at an event. And having a team to run your software to whatever platform you have is such a huge win. And Pat can speak to that. I mean, even she said, she's very familiar with the software. She hires a team as well. Michelle hires a team. Having that team, that staff that knows how to do everything, they know the nooks and crannies of everything. They get how it works. You don't have to call anybody. They can fix the problem. It's huge. So Eleen, just share a little bit about who you are, what you do. We know who you are, but tell us what you do and how they can reach you.
Right. Okay. Auction Event Solutions. We help our clients, which are the nonprofits, with their fundraising events. We can do everything from just showing up at your event to manage registration, the closing of the auction, reconfiguration of auction items, enhancing your guest experience, making sure there's no long lines at registration, and especially picking up their auction items when they leave. Everything from just being at your event and bringing all the equipment for registration. We can bring all the equipment, set it up, manage that, as well as we can help solicit auction items. We can help you with your data entry. Some of our clients, their nonprofits are so small, they don't have the staff to really manage the event completely. So we can do a lot more. So we're kind of a pick and choose as much or as little as you want. We really want to cater our services to your needs.
That's awesome. Thanks for being here.
And Pat, you want to jump in real quick, a little bit about just if they want to reach out to you because you gave them all this great information. Can you just post that information up in our chat bar and say anything you'd like in closing? Because we got to go.
Sure, happy to. I'm the executive director of the San Diego Spine Foundation. We are largely, our mission is medical education and research. I'll post information regarding the organization on the chat bar.
Thank you very much, Pat, and thank you,
everyone.
everyone.
Thanks for joining us today, Pat. All right, guys. Have a great day. Make sure you click the link for a hot seat with us next Wednesday at 4 o'clock. And if you haven't yet, join our Facebook group,
I was just going
Eventology
to say that.
Fundraising, Continue the Conversation. That's what it's called. Eventology Fundraising, Continue the Conversation. And let's do that. Thanks, guys.
Thanks a lot, everybody. We appreciate having you on here.
Thank you.